This is Melanie with Carib Scene on CAHFT TV.
This gentleman here is from a very reputable television company, and they normally cover events for the Caribbean, Latin mainly, but they have gotten into the field doing English Caribbean. This gentleman told me that they were doing a function somewhere in Houston, somewhere around, and they heard of His Excellency's appearance there. So he cut short his mission to come to cover our ambassador's speech. Right, sir? So we're happy that you're here, but while you're here, take our dance too. And then I put it here. I'm sorry, English.
You see the little dance you just recorded, sir? When you played His Excellency's speech, you can play it before and after. Because it's these people are the best cultural dancers in the Western Hemisphere. Yeah. Zokatan Commission. What I said, sir, is that you are looking very smartly dressed tonight. And we're happy that you're here to document this moment. I shall read from the book. If I make a mistake, correct me. And I may get excited and go off script because I love this gentleman very much, who is up next to speak. I was planning not to read the introduction as in the book, but for the camera's sake, I'm going to use my Queen's English. I have camera too. I even have glasses. Spectacles. You see me? I have 7 fingers. Man, they say people with glasses look smart. Am I looking a little smarter? Where's Portia? Hi, Portia. Oh, she's there. All right. Ambassador Hubert J. Charles. Ambassador Hubert J. Charles is a Dominican educator with extensive national, regional, and international experience. Mr. Charles began his education career as a junior master at the Dominica Grammar School in 1969, teaching history and commerce. In October 1977, he became the first Dominican to be appointed to the post of headmaster of the Dominica Grammar School. After 3 years at the school, Mr. Charles was appointed permanent secretary in Dominica's Ministry of Education, Sports, Civil Affairs, and Culture. In 1986, Mr. Charles moved to the regional level, becoming Commonwealth Fund for Technical Cooperation CFTC advisor on special programs at the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, OECS. Mr. Charles joined UNESCO in 1987 with responsibility for coordinating the work of the Caribbean Network of Education Innovation for Development, CRNEID. In 1985, Mr. Charles moved to South Africa, where he served as UNESCO Education Advisor for 2 years. Following this short stint in South Africa, Mr. Charles served as head of office and UNESCO representative to Mozambique. He was later appointed director and UNESCO's representative to Nigeria. He served in that position for 6 years. Mr. Charles returned from UNESCO in 2006, or retired in 2006. We have retired the same thing. Membet, Mempoel. Mr. Charles resumed work in the Caribbean, and from May 2007 to Dominica 2009 served as president of the Dominica State College. Effective June 1, 2010, Mr. Charles was appointed ambassador to the United States and permanent representative to the Organization of American State OAS. In 2008, Mr. Charles released his first publication, Advocacy and Change, promoting innovative approaches to education and culture, published by Pokasi Press. The book is a compilation of addresses and papers covering the period 1989-2007. Mr. Charles holds BA Honors in History and Economics from UE and a Master's in History and Anthropology from the St. John's Hopkins University. Mr. Charles is married to Dr. Sylvia. He's a dear friend, a stalwart Dominican, a brother to many, an admired son, iconic son of the soil, who has taught quite a lot of us to become what we can be. One of the last conversations he had with me was challenging me to go to school, or to go back to school, which I surprised him tonight to having done. I'm actually doing philosophy, and thanks to this gentleman who felt that I should go back to do some more work. He's that kind of person, and I believe he has been very well appointed by someone with foresight to put him in the position that he's in. And his presence here tonight commanded the presence of international media. So once again, Dominica, please join me in standing if you wish, or putting your hands together for Ambassador, His Excellency, Mr. Hubert J. Charles of Dominica, as he addresses us on Dominica's 33rd anniversary of independence. Mr. Charles.
Thank you very much, Alex. I must say that I cannot remember having been introduced in this way before. I am always pleased to be in the company of Dominicans. I describe myself as the consummate Dominican. The only thing I can't do is the type of dance that Mr. What is the gentleman's name? Mr. Lloyd. Mr. Lloyd, just in case you are interested, you have a student. Let me, because the night is becoming mature, let me go directly and recognize the president of this venerable association, recognize as well the executive members of the association, and my fellow Dominicans, visitors, ladies and gentlemen. I bring you warm greetings from the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs, as well as the Permanent Secretary and staff of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Some of you may know as well Ambassador Henderson, who is our ambassador to the United Nations. He too has asked me to pass on to you greetings and congratulations. This is an area and this is an era when entities do not always stay together. Some marriages don't even last 6 months. And as such, whenever we have a Dominican entity that lasts 15 years, and in that period also does excellent work, we have no choice but to congratulate that organization. And I ask you to join me in celebrating the work of the Dominica Houston, should I use the ink? The Dominica Houston Association. Again, not just for the fact that it has managed to last these 15 years, but that it has managed to do excellent work in terms of social giving. I understand that you have been actively involved in making emergency contributions to families in crisis through the Dominica Red Cross. Additionally, you have provided material to the Ministry of Health, to schools in Casablanca and Saint-Sauveur, as well as scholarships to deserving students here in Houston. Hearty congratulations to yourselves and the members who support you. As usual, the result for good work is usually more work. And certainly when it comes to working together to ensure a brighter future for Dominica, particularly in the context of the current global difficulties, I think you will understand the challenge that I am going to extend to you. I like very much your motto, through unity and action we succeed. Sometimes I get the impression that we are people who talk a lot, talk probably too much, and do not give sufficient attention to action, because talk is simply an intro to action. And your motto says, that through unity and action we succeed. And as such, I am challenging you. On the 16th anniversary, which is 1 year from now, on the 16th anniversary of your existence, I am proposing that you take the leadership and work with the embassy and other diaspora organizations to organize here in Houston a major conference of Dominica diaspora associations throughout the United States. That conference would have as its main goal the sharing of information, the exchange of ideas, all designed to improve the effectiveness of diaspora associations like yours. There are quite a few diaspora associations throughout the country. I am not sure how many are as dynamic as yours, but the point is that you need to take your celebrations and your interaction a little higher. And I am proposing that we work together to ensure that next year we organize a major conference of diaspora associations. And given the dynamism that I have seen here, I have no doubt that that is something that you can do. Ladies and gentlemen, after years of deliberation, the Commonwealth of Dominica Diaspora Policy was approved by the government of Dominica in October 2010. Every effort must be made, and I hope again that the association will be engaged with this, to ensure that that document, and just in case you have not seen it, I brought a copy. This is a copy that I pulled from the internet of the Dominica Diaspora Policy. I'm going to make some reference to that policy in my opening remarks. Incidentally, I am not going to be long. I am giving you long notice. I am not going to be long. But at the same time, I think the idea is to assign some time just before a celebration for some reflection. So bear with me, young and old, just a little bit of reflection. So, as I said, that policy document was published in 2010, and I was suggesting that everybody should make an effort to find out what is in it. The document seeks to clarify the relationship between Dominica and its sons and daughters in the diaspora. It seeks to clarify that relationship. And one of the key areas that it has sought to clarify is the question of citizenship. The policy says that if you were born in Dominica, it calls it born or of Dominican origin. If you are of Dominican origin, meaning that you were born in Dominica, you are obviously naturally a citizen of Dominica. But it hasn't stopped there. It says even though your sons and daughters are born in the United States and hence qualified for United States citizenship, you also qualify for Dominican citizenship. So, Dominica born, but your children who are born here qualify for Dominican citizenship. But more than that, your grandchildren are also qualified to hold a passport of the Commonwealth of Dominica. I think this is important because there's nothing wrong, and I repeat this, there is absolutely nothing wrong in being a national of this wonderful country. And I'm referring to the United States of America. But neither is there anything wrong in being a citizen of the Commonwealth of Dominica. And so the policy makes those relations possible. Again, not just with persons who were born in Dominica, but the children and grandchildren of Dominican-born citizens are entitled to citizenship, entitled to the passport. The policy also talks about voting rights. That is usually a nice and controversial issue. But it basically says that if you are a citizen of Dominica, you're entitled to vote. But you also need an additional qualification. Now, it doesn't pertain just to people who are in the diaspora. All Dominicans, whether they were resident outside of Dominica or in Dominica, require 1, to be 18 years of age, and 2, to be registered in a polling district in Dominica. So don't be swayed and confused. If you are a national, automatically you have voting rights. But that voting right is not just conferred like that. You have to be the age, what is called the age of majority. And secondly, you have to be registered in a polling station. I will leave this, I will leave it just there because I want to talk to you about something else. But pray, go to the internet, get your president to download this document, make some time to study it. It, for instance, talks about investment. It says if you as a Dominican national want to invest in Dominica, all, I repeat, all the privileges that a non-Dominican investor is entitled to for investing in Dominica, you too are entitled to this. In other words, if you decided to go and establish a factory in Dominica, you are entitled to importation of your materials without taxation. Okay? And a raft of other benefits. In other words, you are encouraged to invest in Dominica. And incidentally, those persons who are interested in a little discussion and investment in Dominica, I would be pleased if we, I think it's about 4 o'clock at the Crown Plaza, we can have a little tete-a-tete on this. Just those persons who are interested in investment in Dominica. The theme of this year's celebration is celebrating 33, joining hands in unity. And I wish, as I said, to spend a little time talking about this play on the theme of joining hands and promoting unity. And basically what I'm talking about is 1 or 2 of the key traditions that we tend to forget, that I think it is important that we hold on to, because identity is important for bringing us together. Look at what is happening tonight. We identify with a country, some of us were not even born in that country, but we are wearing the madras. I saw a little boy practicing the moves, watching the adults and practicing the moves. We identify with those things. And I think it is because we identify together that we can be unified and together. I want to talk firstly about what I call the Sunday table. Bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. In 1938, a young Dominican woman braved the perilous journey between Dominica and Barbados by schooner. She was 18 years of age, only 18 years of age. That is not the day, and I'm talking 1938, it was not the day of GPS and cell phones. It was the age when the safety of the crew and the passengers depended on the skill of the captain and on the grace of God. Simply put, the captain had no means to call for help in case something went wrong. In fact, that schooner which left Roseau spent 16 days drifting before it arrived in Barbados. The motivation of this young woman was nothing different from that which motivates young people when they leave Dominica. She wanted to give herself a chance for self-improvement. She brought with her a sense of the importance of hard work, a recollection of the importance of a church and the family. But also, she brought something that I call the family, the Sunday family table. When I met the family in Barbados in 1969, the Sunday table was already in place. But I didn't understand the importance of that Sunday table until I met the family again in 2011 in New York. The family had, of course, moved from Dominica, remember, to Barbados, and then on to New York. Now, New York, you know, is not necessarily a place for getting together. It is a place of individualism. People do their own thing. And yet, years and years after that lady left Dominica, the family gathers every Sunday to eat and talk and chat together. What a wonderful gift that our country has given through this particular family. And I'm not only talking about that family. If you think of it, it is a tradition that used to hold sway in our homeland. My plea is that while you enjoy the fruits and benefits of this wonderful land, hold on to some of the things that you have inherited. Not only the dance, not only the ballet and the quadrille and the heel and toe. These are what I call performance elements of culture. What is more important is the way we think, the way we relate to each other. These are the things that make you different. These are the things that identify you as Dominicans. This lady is now 91 years old. And even though she doesn't cook anymore, the family has taken over the tradition. One of the daughters, or the granddaughters, or the great-grandchildren will cook. And wherever that meal is prepared, the family gravitates. All of them from all parts of New York. What a wonderful gift that our country has given. What a wonderful gift it is possible for you to appreciate and absorb and carry on. I want to talk about another style, and I call it the Dominican style of communication. And I will read this because I want you to take it in as I have expressed it. The second Dominican cultural feature, which I feel we have an obligation to understand and hopefully to promote, is our unique take on communication. We use music, song, dance, and theater not only to express our joys and sorrows, but to express our fears and to praise our God. We use facial expressions and non-verbal utterances to express shock and surprise, a juicy piece of news about our prim and proper neighbor. We use calypso to cajole, to laugh at ourselves, and for social control. Importantly, we use communication to evaluate new ideas and to determine new vistas of the future. I am certain that this mishmash of communication made us a savvy and sophisticated nation when it comes to communication. Those who do not think so risk not understanding what it is that is being said, miss the opportunity to have real effective communication. I believe, ladies and gentlemen, that we are a conservative people. We are no radicals when it comes to our way of life and the way we behave. We are conservative people. This may be due to the fact that our rural communities and the citizens of those rural communities are now the citizens of Roseau and Portsmouth. Don't forget. Okay? The citizens of our rural communities were for the most part guarded and suspicious about fast-talking change agents who for the most part were unable to keep their promises. In effect, that studied silence which greets a new idea expresses not disinterest, but a healthy dose of skepticism. In other words, when you come trying to convince Dominicans about something and they say nothing, don't get the impression that they are not interested in what it is that you want to say. That is the communication style that is being played out here. What is it that they're interested in? That silence is a deliberate break in the flow of communication, during which the bearer of this new idea is provided with an opportunity to establish trust, to demonstrate credibility, to show respect and good faith, and generally to assist in creating an environment within which the ideas can be entertained. I want to put this in another form. When the old people, when you come with a new idea, and the old people in your village or your family keep quiet, it is not that they don't want to hear you. It is they tell you, hey, come good. Come good. Be respectful. And this is important for young people, and this is why I'm bringing this up. It is important for young people who want to convince the elders that this or that particular course of action should be followed. The elders evaluate not just the idea, they evaluate your posture. Are you respectful? It may be that you see them as ignorant, but they want you to demonstrate respect. Demonstrate that you are serious, or don't come at all. My sense is that our folks, particularly our folks in diaspora, are losing a sense of the importance of deliberate communication. When I say deliberate communication, I mean taking time to communicate. There is a sense that all that is important is the idea, is the uttering of the idea, not the condition or the environment within which that idea must be considered. And our traditions, our Dominican traditions, say, hold on, be careful, because I want to listen to you, but I cannot listen to you if you're not respecting me, if you do not give me a chance to really understand what you're about. And it is important for us to have this proper communication, because the ideas that you develop and grow into in North America, in the United States, in the UK, these ideas are ideas that would be valuable to Dominicans. You see, you are in an environment that is more prone to discipline, for example. The other day I was in St. Thomas and trying to find out why is it that Dominican produce is not being sold as it used to be before in St. Thomas. The response was, look, those people don't have any discipline. They come, they don't even wash their food. They just come and they dump it there. No standards. You are growing in an environment that is pregnant with standards. We need in Dominica some of those ideas, some of those standards. But if you do not pay attention to communication, if you do not pay attention to proper communication, if you do not respect those who you want to convince, they will turn off. And that communication that is so important to the future of our country will be broken. This is basically the message that I want to give you. I want to say one last thing, because I know you. I want to talk about a word that is normally associated with Miss Wobduyet. Alex, listen to this. It is normally associated with Miss Wobduyet during this Miss Wobduyet show. I don't have to ask you whether you've heard of it. The word is GAM. How many of you have heard that word? GAM. GAM speaks to the capacity of a woman to carry that Wobduyet with a sense of style and panache. It speaks to a confidence that denies where that person came from. Because GAM has nothing to do with status. GAM has everything to do with style. Men are probably not supposed to have GAM. Or, and this is why I ask Alex to listen, because I don't know that there is a male counterpart to GAM. Masab Sionisa. But, well, the point though is that I think it is important for us to take GAM from where we found it and put it at a different level. And this is my proposal. We are entering into an age with employment, with layoffs, that is going to be difficult. That is already difficult. That is likely to be even worse as we go forward. But the Dominican tradition speaks to a capacity to move forward without necessarily being buckled down by the forces that are negative. That basically is what GAM is. GAM comes out of the slave quarters. It comes out of the lower orders of society. But it transcends difficulties by saying, look at me. I am Dominican. I am proud. And I'm saying to the young people who are going to be faced with joblessness over the next couple of years, pay attention to education. Work hard at it. That is one of the most powerful traditions that we have in our country. It helps people. It helps move people from one social order to another. It gives you qualities and characteristics which nobody can take from you. Continue to work at your education. Continue to develop confidence. Continue to develop values. But when all is difficult, and when despite your best efforts, things do not or are not going your way, think of GAM. Think of a capacity to move beyond your difficulties. And if GAM doesn't work, remember that there is a place in Dominica called Tiqueglosho, where you can go and rejuvenate. Wallow in that glorious hot water. Don't stay there too long. Come back. Remember what I said. Rejuvenate. Order yourself for the battle. And continue the battle. But walk proud. If you have only one shirt, wash the shirt. Iron it. If you have one skirt, iron it. Don't let anybody know your business. But walk tall. That is the essence of who we are. And believe it or not, this is the story of our longevity. We have a society where, despite our small size, we have probably more centenarians than most. We've gone through the crucible and come out with GAM. So I wish you well. I know you don't want any more. I have lots more, but we'll have to postpone that for another time. Go well, my friends. Continue to hold on to your traditions. Continue to relate to your God. But please, continue to relate back to this little piece of rock which the good Lord has given to us. It may not be the most attractive, but believe it or not, it is ours. Ladies and gentlemen, young people, I wish you well. Have a good night.
Please put your hands again together for His Excellency the Ambassador. This speech shall go down in the annals of history as one of the more interesting ones that we would have heard. There's a Maynard man here who came along with the television company. He's going to interview His Excellency a little bit later on. We welcome this other celebrity television person here in our midst. And we tell you thank you for coming. And remember, we're here every year, so you're welcome back here next year. That's Mr. Dennis Warner. I said Maynard, is actually Warner. Mr. Dennis Warner. He's going to be asking questions of our Excellency Ambassador. Do not ask him about Gaddafi. That's too hard of a question. Ask him about regional integration. And ask him about his time in Africa. Ask him about the best MC in the world, me. And ask him about the opportunities to work in the US for me. And ask him about the monies paid to MCs. Voila! It's going to be nice. Now, His Excellency spoke about a number of things that we will, jump on every now and then. But he advised us to stay close to our culture and hold on to what's ours. And the language is what's ours. Amen? Creolano. So, I'm going to say a few English expressions and you respond in Creole, right? Food. Love. Peace. La paix. C'est pas le créole, man. Now, listen to that phrase very well and say it exactly as it should be said in Creole. For if it's hot, who said that there? Oh Lord. This Dominican Antiguan photographer, a camera person. What's your name again, Antiguan? You're beautiful. What's your name again? 20? Kitwani? Honey? Child, I'll come and talk to you after this show to save all that trouble.
My name is Dennis Warner. I'm a member and associate with CAHFT. CAHFT is the name or the synonym for Caribbean American Heritage Foundation of Texas. We are happy and privileged tonight to have with us a distinguished gentleman, Mr. Hubert J. Charles. Mr. Hubert J. Charles is the ambassador of Dominica. Mr. Hubert Charles, good evening.
Good evening.
Tonight we witnessed, and we were privileged to witness, a lot of some of the stuff that we as a people of the Caribbean has long been desirous of wanting to hear and see. Listening to you, Mr. Hubert, there had been many questions that some of which, not all of which, I'm going to be asking you, but some of these has always been, affecting the Caribbean as a whole.
Okay.
Not specifically Dominica, but as I am from St. Kitts, I could relate to some of these questions. First of all, and one of the things you spoke about really is culture, working together as a people, and we've seen that a lot here in Houston. I want to know, in some ways, from your experience, in some ways, how we could more or less harness the energies, whatever we got to do to bring about a togetherness and a consciousness, to say, well, an awakening of a consciousness of a people in the Caribbean here in Houston.
Very good. First of all, let me say how much of a pleasure it is for me to be here. I was invited to participate in the 15th annual celebration of the Dominica Houston Association's independence program for Dominica. The question that you raised regarding not just Dominican but Caribbean unity and the role of culture, I think is an important one. We are nothing if not a very cultured people. And sometimes our young people and sometimes our older folk forget that we have collectively a set of resources stemming way back from our African experience, but also informed by our Creole experience here in the New World. Resources that could be used to, number one, promote unity, but also to allow us to differentiate ourselves from the rest, and not in a negative sense.
Yes.
The point is that we are a Caribbean people,
Yes.
And our culture is a prime factor in who we are. Tonight, for example, I was reminding the Dominicans that they need to hold on to some of the things that made us who we are.
Yeah.
And even though the American culture and society is very effective,
Yes.
in terms of winning over new recruits to American culture and American behavior, and to some extent there's really nothing wrong about that. I think our people need to be flexible.
Yes.
But at the same time, I think we are best when we demonstrate that we are not empty. We are not empty vessels, that we have strong values, that we know how to enjoy ourselves, as you see in terms of what's going on in there. But also, we have what it takes to build a society, a community. We have communication strategies and communication styles that it is important for us to retain.
Yes.
So this whole business of cultural conservation is important to us. I would hope that our schools recognize the value of bringing our young people along with us,
Yeah.
when it comes to retaining some of the cultural values and practices that we grew up with in the Caribbean. This business of self-respect, this question of hard work, the persistence. Remember that our people dealt with not just slavery but colonialism for a long while, and we never gave up. That we persisted with the task of forming a people, and now, very few years after, because in terms of time, 150 years is really not much, we have managed to form viable nations. Most of us, in case of Dominica, we are only 33 years old.
Yeah.
So culture is important.
Yeah. You just speak about colonialism, and you're now enjoying your 33rd year of independence. Would you say that we are fully, I should say, away from colonialism? Does it still have effects on us?
Well, put it this way. I think there are vestiges of colonialism that are present in most of our societies. But to some extent, we have moved very far away from those. I am not worried so much about the past.
Yes.
I think it informs our thinking.
Yeah.
I'm worried more about our sense as to the future. Whether we are taking on that which we need to take on to prepare ourselves for the future. And the colonial experience doesn't hold us back.
That's true. Shouldn't.
I feel the colonial experience in some areas enriches our response to the challenges of today. I mean, take a basic one, for example, language. Okay, we in Dominica can manage our Creole, we can manage our Kokoi, and at the same time, we manage the English language.
Yes.
You know, and this is nowadays considered a resource, a global resource. So this is not going to hold us back. In fact, I think it is going to facilitate the challenges, the work that we have to do. The law. The law and our adherence to it really constitutes the foundation of strong democracies. The law protects our rights. It protects our ambitions, whether they be business or whatever. That is a colonial inheritance. You see, I think if you were to balance things off, well, you may find that there are some negatives, there are some positives.
Well, yes.
I prefer to go to the question of values. What are the values that we need to consider as a people, as a region, to make ourselves more competitive? What are the relations that we need to establish? Take, for example, our partnership with Latin America. We grew up believing that Latin America constitutes a whole set of banana republics. You understand? Right now, the dynamic in terms of economic growth is with those same banana republics. And we in the Caribbean need to be, and I'm talking about the English-speaking Caribbean, we need to be a little more proactive to make sure that we are not left behind. Okay? So it's a new world. And while we can talk about our colonial experience, for me, much more exciting is the future and the challenge of making ourselves viable in that future. The colonial experience has to be put aside, and we have to take in a new set of realities.
You just mentioned the future, you mentioned law. I kind of stay close to my country, to St. Kitts, and I'm always, finding out more. But recently, I'm seeing the increase of crime activities in the islands. What has your country have installed to curb this situation, so we who are here in America could have a sense of comfort knowing that, well, something is being done, or at least being projected of going into place?
We need to be cautious in terms of making comparison. I don't know that we in the Caribbean have an obligation to Americans to make them comfortable about crime. Crime is a universal.
Yes.
And so I will reinterpret your question to say, what are we doing?
Yes, that's what
about,
yes,
about that which for us is a major concern.
Yes, it is.
Because the history of our islands did not feature too much of crime as a problem. But we are in a globalized world. Much of the crime that we speak about is drug related.
Yes.
Drug is a global problem. So I think, particularly in terms of our linkages with the OAS and our work within the OAS, we have been seeking to strengthen national institutions, strengthen national laws and police forces and those regimes. But also we have been talking about creating alliances so that the massive drug problem, which affects all our regions, all our islands, can be tempered, not even saying stopped, can be made manageable.
Yes.
That we can decrease the flow of drugs, that we can become a little more effective in managing those criminal gangs that push drugs in our region. Of course, I'm not too sure that they are targeting our region. They're targeting North America. The good news is that I think increasingly North America, the Canadians, certainly our American colleagues, and Latin America, we all recognize that we are in it together.
Yeah, that's
okay,
true.
and that the effort should be concerted, the effort should be systematic, and that we should work together to try to, as I said, build capacity and to do as much as we can to interdict drugs before they reach our region.
Yes. You spoke earlier about investing back home, and as a kid coming here to America, and I came here with a skill, and I have employed my skill. I'm using my skill still. However, I've seen a lot of our people go back home with intention to go back in the same skill that they have here and have learned more of this skill to demonstrate it back in the islands. And I've seen them after a few years coming back here to America. I was concerned a long time ago about brain drainage in the Caribbean. I don't know if there is a yardstick to measure this now. I mean, how is it affecting us? How is it affecting us as a nation?
Brain drain?
Yeah.
Look, I have changed my mind once or twice about this business of brain drain.
Okay.
The first answer to the question, yes, it continues to affect us.
Yes.
Migration generally continues to affect us. As long as we are not as successful as we would like to be in terms of transforming our economies to the point where young people can be fulfilled in terms of their economic ambitions and certainly their educational and social ambitions, then migration will continue to be an issue. It will dampen a bit because of the economic challenges in North America, in the United States, which has been the main destination for us. But increasingly, we recognize that we need not dismiss the potential of those who have left to contribute to economic development and growth back home. It would require a lot of planning. It would require a new set of thinking. Because we need to be a lot more accommodating of persons who have gone out and who wish to come back. The persons who have gone out and come back, or wish to come back, or wish to contribute, also need to make some adjustments. I was speaking tonight about communication. And that is part and parcel of the issue that I think we need to deal with. Our Caribbean people have never mellowed in terms of their demand that communication be appropriate, particularly in terms of our essentially rural setting. Communication need to take into consideration people's desire for respect. It could be that they are ignorant or they are non-educated. I want to take back the term ignorant. They are non-educated, they are not formally educated. But they deserve and demand respect. And as such, persons who wish to lend or sell new ideas or have them consider new options need to do so in a manner which takes in the traditions of communication. I think the divide that I see, and which may be growing between our nationals who have gone out and our nationals who have remained, that divide will be narrowed if we pay a little more attention to good communication. So it is not just the issue of wanting to contribute.
Okay.
It is the environment that you establish. It is the rapport that you establish between yourself and those you want to listen to you. These things we tend to play down, downplay, and we are suffering. The relations are suffering because of this.
I asked a question, Mr. Ambassador, because we're now living in a technological age, globalization. I know it doesn't matter, sometimes it doesn't even matter where you live anymore about doing business with or with whom.
Sure.
So I asked a question to see if the effect of brain drain is still as it was in comparison to now, owing that globalization and technology had advanced so much.
Yeah. I think you are right. Your implication is that, well, it is not as bad as it used to be because of globalization.
It doesn't matter where you live.
It is not as bad as it used to be because of technology and communication.
Right.
But as I said, the technology is one. Remember, the technology is simply a means of bringing people together.
Right, of course.
Okay? Whether you use technology or you don't, people still need to relate to each other. Okay? And I think we have to pay a little more attention to this relating.
Yeah.
Push the technology aside. It is a tool.
Yes.
Okay? But what is most important is the intention and the idea of clarifying what that intention is. If your intention is to contribute, then you will pay attention to communication as an agent for that communication.
Yes.
But brain drain continues to be a challenge. I just wish that the relations that I think we are building slowly with Latin America continues apace to the point where we are firmly integrated. Our economies are better integrated with those of Latin America. I think when that happens, you will find a greater economic dynamism in the economies of the English-speaking Caribbean. And that will probably dampen people's enthusiasm for migration.
A question I've been always pondering about is very often one will hear now and again that someone has been sent home from America because of a crime they did here, and most times that particular person do not find a place in the back home society, and because of that they become part of the crime element. And I know for a fact St. Kitts has been experienced that quite a bit. What we can do to, let's say for example, to prevent that from happening, because these people are here in America. They're first being here before they're sent home. So we as organizations, Caribbean organizations in America, what we can do more of to help these people from getting to that point before it becomes in that situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or you're asking me what can we do?
Yeah, what can we do?
Well,
I
was hoping that we would talk about things like education that increase people's option. Because to me there is a route for criminal activity. We haven't yet discovered exactly what that is. The point though is that we are having more and more open discussion between Caribbean and American authorities, so that we can better understand the problem and determine how we intervene. There's been lots of complaints. I think the Americans are as concerned as we are about the flow of criminal activity from one section of our hemisphere to another. And that concern is prompting more and more dialogue about it. So I'm hoping that in the not too distant future, that discussion will be a little more dynamic, and it will generate results which will satisfy both the senders and the recipients of that particular challenge. But it is under consideration, it's under very serious consideration in terms of the dialogue between ourselves and our American friends.
I know some of the questions that could be asked will take quite a deal of time.
Quite some time, yes.
Yes, and as one who is very concerned about back home, even living here, you know, it's my home is dear to me.
Yes.
And some of the things you talk about in there tonight really goes they're very dear to me, especially mannerism and those kind of stuff.
I'm glad that you enjoyed
So
it.
we are so glad to have you here tonight.
Thank you very much.
And it shows us that it doesn't matter where you're from in the Caribbean. We are still one people.
Absolutely.
We have the same concerns.
Absolutely.
And on behalf of CAHFT and other organizations here in Houston, I extend my hand to say thank you and welcome to Houston.
Thank you very much.
We hope to see you soon again.
It would be my pleasure to be back.
Thanks.
Okay, very good.